Tell me how it grabbed you, because well, in the West you don't hear about those kind of things, but well, we're talking about your home here, Nigeria. Tell me how it first grabbed you when you heard that there were indeed people talking about a national government of national, well, in fact, it's a bit confusing, but that interim national government, interim in what manner? What do you think about it?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Well, first and foremost, I would like to congratulate the Nigerian people for having held a very successful elections, notwithstanding some of the alleged irregularities. By and large, compared to the previous elections under the Fourth Republic, this was a successful and credible elections, and they should be proud of that. What we then need to do is to move forward and continue to build on the current achievements. Having said that, the idea of having an interim government or even coming up with such assertions is really laughable. It is laughable and it's also annoying given the history of this country. For a greater part of our years of existence as a country, we were under military dictatorship. And thank God the country successfully exited the military regime system, and we now have a thriving democracy. So for those who experienced the interim government after the aborted June 12 elections, they will be shocked that any Nigerian would even mute such an idea at times like this. Because in a democracy, you must be prepared to win and lose an election. If you only believe that when you win is when there's a democracy, then you don't believe in the tenets of democracy, because it has two sides, winning and losing. So the idea of returning to an interim government, it is undemocratic, it is criminal, and in fact, it's seditious. And those who are responsible for these kind of ideas, bringing it into the public domain, they should be arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
We've seen all sorts of demonstrations, even over in your neck of the woods in the U.S. You have Nigerians, you know how it is. They're whipping up propaganda. Anybody can apply for a permit for a demonstration, and so you have Nigerians applying at a park. I understand is across the road from the White House, and are now making a whole big deal of that. That they're protesting. Meanwhile, the U.S. government has nothing whatsoever to do with this, but it's not an unusual ploy by some of our compatriots in diaspora, and in particular in the U.S. in this case. You must have heard about that, I'm sure. You must have heard about that particular incident.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Yes, it is as easy as making yourself a breakfast to get a permit in the U.S. to demonstrate. So that should not be given any premium by the Nigerian people, because you can apply right now this morning and to the White House and say you need a permit, or to the police department in Washington, you need a permit to demonstrate in the White House. They will give you the conditions, and once you meet those conditions, you can demonstrate for any reason under the sun. You could demonstrate that you want goats to be running around somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa, or that you want the sun not to shine tomorrow for any reason. So that should not be given any priority or premium by our people. But I want to make one point here, which is that the current noise and decibel being raised about these elections in Nigeria, I believe, is premised on the preponderance of unsubstantiated video materials that were circulated on the internet and on WhatsApp pages. These unverified and unsubstantiated materials has inflamed the emotions of the Nigerian people, who already have had a crisis of confidence in the Nigerian political class. So when you now marry that with alleged video evidence showing improprieties and irregularities, any individual will be inflamed. And I wish to say this for the record. In the United States, in the last presidential elections, there are still people in this country who still believe, because they saw fake videos online, that the opposition party won the presidential elections. So Nigerians should stew over that for a second.
Really?
That the presidential elections in 2020 between former President Donald Trump and the current President Joseph Biden, according to some in the opposition, Donald Trump won the elections.
That's
and
right.
The elections were
Yeah.
rigged in favor of the current president.
Yeah.
There is no evidence to substantiate that, but that belief does exist in this country. So Nigerians should be rest assured that if such a belief can happen here in the US because of the preponderance of unsubstantiated video materials, then it is expected that in a country like ours that is still developing, that video information circulating could also alter the perception of the Nigerian people as to the credibility or veracity of our electoral process.
But I think it also goes back, in addition to what you just said, to what you said at the beginning, which is that people are just being, not that you use the word, people are just being emotional about this. And if you're going to be a Democrat, then someone will win and someone will lose. Usually in an ideal case scenario, you have the loser congratulating the winner. That has not happened yet, but, okay, that's okay. It's their prerogative whether to be good sportsmen or not. But it is clear that APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, won that election, and he didn't win it by a thin slice. Yet people refuse, and then combine that with problems at home. The person who was third, who scored the third most, most votes, actually saying that he actually scored the most votes and that he was heading to court to, go and prove it. And then, as you said, it's quite messed up. Perhaps that's why at home here, people keep on keeping on the matter. Say no, because you throw enough mud, some of it will stick. You tell enough lies, some people will begin to believe that maybe. And so that's why it is felt that there's a reason to keep on with the facts of the case as we have them now. A legitimate body, INEC, rightly declared the winner, and then some people are going against that and they say they're going to court. And that's their prerogative. Please go to court. But in the meantime, don't continue to do those kind of things that sort of shake confidence in it. That's what we have on our hands right now.
Yes, you're very correct. In fact, recently I penned an article in some of the Nigerian media houses, and I have the utmost respect for the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people are a decent people. Majority of our people are law-abiding. They love their country, and they want their country to do well. And I could not be more proud of them. I believe that the current situation in the country stems from the fact that the Nigerian people love to win. We love to win at all costs, no matter what the price is. And that is fine. I associate myself with winning.
Yes.
But however, in life is filled with ups and downs. You win some and you lose some. But the attitude of the Nigerian population to losing is not very encouraging. We have what I term the sore losers mentality. In a recent article that I penned, I wrote it, I said, a nation of sore losers. What do I mean by that? I mean that we have a culture in Nigeria where when we lose, we tend to blame somebody else. We tend to blame something else as being responsible for our loss. I'll give you some critical examples. As young men growing up, when we play soccer or football on the field, as we call it back home, when we lose or when any team loses, they blame the official for being unfair to their team. All right? If a student in Nigeria today or anywhere in our country fails an exam, they will say that the teacher was biased against them and therefore cut their marks and gave it to one of their fellow students. That is why they failed. Now, when it comes to elections, when we lose an election, we would always blame our opponents for rigging the election, and that was why we lost. In fact, if you take a historical look, since the beginning of independence, all presidential elections in Nigeria have been contested after the elections, which means the losers have always refused to accept that they lost the election. So this has become a Nigerian tradition, sadly.
Apart from the Jonathan to Buhari transition.
Yes, okay, with the exception of that, but even to a minor extent, there was some hesitation on the part of Jonathan, although he eventually conceded.
Yes.
With some grievances. So historically, Nigerians are known to always say, "Oh well, we were rigged that." But if you look at the current elections, just a brief overview here, the Labour Party, I must say here that the party did very well, and they should be congratulated because as a party that came to the national scene to contest the presidential election for the first time, the candidate of the party, according to the results published by INEC, scored almost 28% of the total vote cast. This was a candidate that joined the Labour Party in less than a year.
That's right.
In less than a year, the party got nearly 28% of the votes. So if the party had actually been in operations and actively engaging with the population for 4 years, they may have won this election, but they did not. Now, the candidate of the PDP secured 31%, approximately 32%, according to results from INEC. If you combine the results of the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party, you are going to get a majority of almost 59% of the total vote cast. Now, but there are two different parties, so you cannot add their votes. But for the purpose of what I am saying, we'll just do the mathematical summation. Now, if you look at the PDP candidate and the APC candidate, they scored 40% of the votes, according to INEC results. That therefore being declared as a winner of the elections. So if the Labour Party and the PDP had come together as one party, they may have won these elections. So really, those who are making noise and saying the elections were rigged, fine. It is their right and the right of any Nigerian who contested this election to go to court and challenge the results. But no one has a right to destroy this country, to essentially be calling for a military coup just because they did not win this election.
Indeed.
Because Nigeria is bigger than each and every one of us. And we all must be builders and not destroyers. Because I firmly believe that Nigeria is at a crossroad, that in the next few years, this country is only going to take off, and the Nigerian people will benefit immensely from the next trajectory of this country.